A reading of Until Death Do You Part, Chapter 30, Wedding Day, William Hovey Smith, 2021. This is Hovey Smith, the Backyard Sportsman. And today we are going to have a reading of Chapter 30 of my new novel, Until Death Do You Part. Since this is in the middle of the book, what has happened thus far is that we have two Sicilians of American origin, two very handsome guys, who are vacationing in Sicily, along with their entire family, including their father, Ronald, their mother, Nancy, their sister, Mary, and their gay hairdresser uncle. They were located in Louisiana, and after having been there for 3 generations, they were going to make their first trip back to their home island. Well, they were invited by their relatives, and when they arrived on Monday, the 2 boys, men actually, were informed that they were to be married on Friday or none would leave the island alive. Some inducements were that these were 2 of the most attractive gals they had ever seen. They had had failing relations before, and there was a dowry of 100,000 euros a year to support the 2 women. What? So they reluctantly accepted. However, a rival mob in Naples decided that this wedding was not going to take place, whatever it meant, and they were going to stop it at any cost. And already by this time, attempts had been made on the lives of different members of the wedding party. Nonetheless, the wedding is to take place. And the scene opens in Luigi the Claw's villa. Luigi is a mafia enforcer. He is now the acting head of the family, and his villa has been used as a staging area for the wedding. The voice actor is Fleet Cooper, who is an amazing talent and has done over 100 books. And when you hear him, you can well see why, because this one fellow is actually voicing all of the parts.
30. Wedding Day. Ronald and Nancy Calsace again awoke to the sounds of a frenzied household getting ready for the unprecedented occasion where 2 women who had been raised as sisters were to be simultaneously married. Because of the involvement of so many relatives, friends, vendors, part of the protection force, and others who had been impacted by the mafia during their lives, this event had almost risen to the same heights of celebration as St. Lucia's Day. The cars and buses that were to take the wedding party to the city hall and the church in Novo were lined up inside the compound. Instead of the vehicles being all black, as might be the case for a funeral, the outrageously painted Fiat and Angelica's red Ferrari added splashes of color. Angelica had insisted on driving the car herself, saying, "Everything else about this event has been planned by somebody else. If I am to participate, I am going to damn well drive myself to it. If anyone objects, they had better get out of the way." This time even Luigi agreed, because it was far easier to give in to his strong-willed niece on this point than to have to fight with her over every other detail of the complex events that were about to unfold. While most of the attention was paid to Angelica and Cecilia, Frank and Roger were being fussed over by Mario, who had accepted the role of making sure that his 2 cousins were properly prepared to the point of having their handkerchiefs properly peaked in their jackets and the 2 .380 Walther pistols stored in their inside pockets. Mary gave her 2 brothers a final inspection before breakfast and remarked, "For 2 yardbirds from Louisiana, you look passable." In fact, they had a look of restrained resplendence, which, while lacking the frills, laces, and ornate collars of the nobility from the Spanish Baroque, they handsome figures fit for a ballroom. Luigi was also being prepared for the events. As befitting the acting head of the family, his outfit included a dark suit with shoes that had a mirror polish, a cummerbund made of ballistic cloth, a sash across his white shirt with the red and gold colors of Sicily, held on the shirt by an enameled pin of the flag, and his jacket had also been lined with the same bullet-resistant Kevlar fabric. After telling her brothers that they were to stay clean, Mary recalled that her mother had an expression she used when she was getting the children ready for church, as she dressed one and then the other. "If you don't stay clean, I am going to hang you on hooks on the wall until I get you all dressed." She never did, but the thought of her actually doing it was sufficient to bring compliance, as the boys were forced to nervously sit together on a sofa until everyone was ready to go. Covering their finery with bathrobes, Frank and Roger went to the breakfast room to eat, before what was to be the start of a very long day. "Eat up, brother," Frank remarked. "This is like going into combat. You never know when you might have a chance to eat again. However this turns out, this is going to be a very busy day." Even though the room where the women were being dressed was across the quadrangle, the shrill sound of women's voices could be heard reverberating across the courtyard. "I wonder how Cecilia is taking this. She does not strike me as the type who likes being fussed over." "I know. I got that sort of impression, too. I suspect that Angelica, on the other hand, is eating it up. They are two quite different women. Do you suppose that we got the right ones? You know that Pickled Onion made the choice for us." "I think so. I guess so. I hope so. I feel close to Cecilia, and you are going to have a handful with Angelica. Who knows? Maybe we should do a foursome sometime," Frank joked. "That's fine with me," Roger retorted. "But I think our Sicilian gals and their families are a bit straight-laced for that. Although they trade in all kinds of sin and vice, they are a conservative bunch among themselves. Cecilia, for one, would never agree." Across the courtyard, Nancy was having a discussion with Donna Carlos about American wedding customs. "We need to have the brides have something old, something new, something borrowed, and something blue for luck. If anything will bring these pairs luck, then by all means. I think that Luigi may still have something that belonged to Cecilia's mother. We can loan them the pearls we are wearing, and for blue, what about matching garters? I will call and have them delivered to the church." "That can work," Nancy agreed. When the pair approached Angelica and Cecilia about the last-minute additions to their wedding outfits, they were putting on slips of white ballistic nylon, while Mary was helping them adjust the straps of the heavy garments. "These are heavy and they are hot," Angelica said. "Who knows what might happen today?" Mary responded in an uncharacteristically solemn tone. "You may be in real danger, and these will help keep you safe." Coming from anyone else, Angelica would have rejected this suggestion out of hand, but the earnest words and concerned look from her future sister-in-law were persuasive. "I agree. Thank you," Angelica said as she gave Mary a gentle kiss on the cheek. On receiving the warning letter the night before, Luigi had called a contact that he had with the local carabinieri, warning of the impending attacks on his family. This information was relayed to the AIA in Milan and to Chief Detective Roscati, who was already in Syracuse. In a cryptic telephone call, Roscati told Luigi, "I would like to wish you and your Americans the best of luck with the wedding tomorrow. Take an umbrella. I hear that it might rain. It looks like the weather will be fine for your relatives to fly out tomorrow. My friends in America were concerned. Their tickets will be at the airport. I look forward to meeting everyone at the reception." Roscati had communicated with agents William and Smith, who were in Renato's room at the Nautilus. Renato was, in turn, to let Michael and Vito know of the extraction of the Americans, on a C-130 from the American Air Force Base the following day. Michael and Vito were also told to prepare to leave to start their rotating assignment with the FBI in the States. This was going to be just like in the war, when the Americans and Mafia were working together to drive the Germans out of Sicily, Luigi thought. Circumstances make for strange bedfellows. Whoever would have thought that I would have the AIA and the American Air Force protecting me? Traffic going into the city was already starting to build up when the marriage party left for City Hall. Since only the immediate family members were going to attend the civil ceremony, the bus with the guests would not leave for the church in Novo for another half hour. Vito's Mercedes, with a load of bodyguards, went first. They were to park and guard the cars. The area in front of the municipal building and the halls inside were protected by the city police, while the Carabinieri looked out for suspicious activities on the rooftops and waterfront. Of all the assignments, the large expanse of waterfront docking for pleasure and fishing boats was more difficult to patrol. Still, to the practiced eye, the groups of boats that were nearly always parked in the same areas were well known, and a strange craft seeking a berth was reasonably easy to spot. This was particularly true when their docking appeared to take one of the valued mooring places, which was like stealing a parking spot at an apartment building. Italians do not argue quietly, and any sort of disturbance was a cause for investigation, as was any unloading of sealed boxes by those who were inappropriately dressed for life on the waterfront. Side streets leading to the city hall were temporarily blocked as the 4-car motorcade proceeded into town. Following the leading Mercedes that Vito was driving was Angelica's Ferrari with her and Mary. The Fiat, now driven by Roger, also carried Frank, and then another Mercedes with Ronald, Nancy, William, and Cecilia. Michael said that he and Vito had brought this car up to the standards of a rally racer, and I believe him, Roger said. It is very tight, responsive, and feels like it wants to run. I would like to take it out on the road and see what it can do. If we have to get out of here in a hurry, you may have to, Frank responded as he heard the sound of a helicopter flying overhead. Looking up, he saw that it had police markings. It looks like police are shadowing us. I hope that is a good sign. Few are likely to attack us if they think that they are going to be instantly spotted. The group of vehicles picked up speed as they approached the bridge that was to take them to the town square near the center of the island. So far, so good, Luigi said to Ronald as they approached the Archimedes Bridge. But unsaid was his thought that a bomb might have been planted days before somewhere along the road, to be detonated at any time by remote control. This was not a comforting thought, but he kept it to himself. He knew that if he was going to attempt to make a hit under similar circumstances, an innocent-appearing act like flipping a light switch in a nearby house would be sufficient to initiate an explosion that could take out a car or even a tank. This was an act that, decades ago, he had done himself near this very spot, in front of a checkpoint that the Nazis had set up at the bridge. What an ironic way that would be to have one's life end, he mused. 4 more blocks they were at the Piazza Centrale. The entrance barriers had been removed, and 4 cars were pulled up in front of the city hall. Ushered up the steps and into the building, the 2 couples found themselves facing a desk behind which sat a man in his 50s wearing a crumpled and soiled gray suit with 2 stacks of papers that appeared to have been already filled out. Shoving a stack before each of the 2 couples, the man behind the desk handed them pens and motioned for them to sign. Once they did, he said in Italian, "You are married." He then waved both hands in a brushing away motion, as if he were shooing flies that was accompanied by a rapid burst of Italian which indicated that they should leave immediately. Frank said to Luigi, "Isn't he supposed to say some words or something?" He said that he and the rest of the town were in danger by us just being here, and to get the hell out as fast as the devil can carry us. I'm sorry that this was not a more pleasant experience, but you are nonetheless married. That was something of a bummer, Roger remarked to his brother, as they drove across the square to leave for Novo. We did not even get to kiss our brides. I guess that comes later. At least I hope so, Frank replied. Those mafia bastards would like nothing better than to kill us now. Before our wedding night. They delight in that sort of irony. Stay sharp. You may have to get us out of here in a hurry. Leaving the island of Ortigia, they did not return the way they came, but went north to Highway A12, which would take them part of the way to Novo along a high-speed 4-lane highway. No one thought that anyone would plan an attack on the heavily trafficked highway, but the danger would come on the narrow 2-lane road that would take them to Novo, which constituted half of the trip. The car runs well. I'm not having any trouble keeping up with that big hog of a Mercedes, but could never catch Angelica in that Ferrari, Roger said. Wow, Frank. This marriage thing is going to take some getting accustomed to. I should have said my wife in her Ferrari. How long did it take you to get used to the concept that you were really married? It is awkward at first, but these things sort of come in time. Maybe a month or two, before you really feel that the marriage has sort of took, and you both start feeling really married. The closer they got to their destination, the more rustic the countryside became. The road seemed to be a little wider than it was in Roman times, with stone walls being used to border the fields lining both sides of it. Scattered throughout the countryside were abandoned and sometimes ruined stone farmhouses, where families had given up their rural lives to seek better-paying jobs in Syracuse, Catania, and other parts of Italy. The few farms that appeared to still be operational were worked by the old and young, with maybe some younger relatives coming to help out on weekends and during harvest season. Many had been so frequently subdivided, the small plots became increasingly unprofitable to operate, and were sold to corporate interests, who cleared the walls for orchards, vineyards, and, where possible, fields. I am not worried about those isolated buildings hundreds of yards away. What worries me are those that are close to the road, Frank said. That is where the locals really loved to ambush us in Iraq. This was especially true if they could gain some elevation advantage and shoot down on us. Almost as if he were prophetic, a rifle bullet tore through the roof of the Fiat, missed Roger's head by an inch, and exited through the glass window. "Put your head down and drive," Frank ordered. Roger did as he was bid, and he hit the accelerator to give the sniper as fleeting a target as possible. The second shot blasted through the side of the car and would have hit any backseat passengers. A rip of machine gun fire erupted from above as their escorting helicopter laid down a barrage of fire into the farmhouse. The entire convoy sped on. Fortunately, none of the vital components of the Fiat had been hit, although the painted flowers on the top now looked as if they had a bee sitting on them, and one of the figures on the painted door had a head ventilation problem. "Welcome to combat, brother. Do you feel all right?" "My heart is racing. I'm trying to catch my breath, and I guess the impact of what has happened is just seeping into my system." "You are doing fine. Concentrate on your driving. When we get to a place where the convoy can safely stop, we can switch over and I'll drive. Right now, just drive. The more you think about it, the harder this experience will hit you. There is a clear area ahead. We can pull off there." "We can't stay here but for a moment. Is anyone hurt?" Luigi asked. "Roger is okay. Just a little shook up," Frank replied. "The car took 2 hits, but nothing vital. I'll drive us in," Frank said as he got out of the car as Roger moved over to let his brother in. Angelica and Cecilia, in their wedding dresses, approached the little Fiat with a sense of dread. that one or both of their new husbands might be dead or injured. "The bullet just missed me," Roger said. "I have heard of shotgun weddings, but this is getting a little extreme. I didn't expect to be married to the tune of sniper fire and gunships. Maybe there is a country song in there somewhere. We are sitting ducks standing here. We need to get gone." Now that everyone was seen to be all right, there was no argument. Luigi explained the events to Ronald, Nancy, and the rest of the family as the cars resumed their journey to Novo. The sky had cleared. They drove through green fields set in rolling hills with red tile-roofed stone houses dotting the countryside. There were a few pencil-shaped cedars of Lebanon dotting the landscape, along with the Mediterranean cypress interspersed among the groves of olive, citrus, and pistachio trees. Except for the immediate circumstances of being shot at, this would have been an idyllic day in a beautiful setting that, to Roger, cried out to be painted. The scene and events brought something of a revelation to Nancy, who thought to herself but did not dare express to Luigi. "This is a bloody island. Everywhere we go, there has been murder, killing, slaughter, and death on an unprecedented scale for thousands of years. We are all cannibals. We walk on their bones. Every bite of food we eat contains the very elements that made up their bodies and now fertilize the soil. We breathe in their bodies with the dust we inhale. Now, like it or not, we are part of them, and they are part of us." Looking at Luigi across the way, she sent a mental message. "I understand. Now, finally, I understand how you feel. You could be none other than who you are. This land, this island of blood and death, has made you so." Luigi, feeling Nancy's eyes on him, returned the look and smiled, as if to say, "Message received. Thank you." Bypassing Catania and approaching the ancient town of Novo, the topography changed to a craggy landscape dotted with steep hills formed by old volcanic necks associated with the enormous and very ancient volcanic center of Mount Etna. The Romans knew the world of volcanoes, and they gave this type of mountain its name from the island of Volcano, named for Vulcan, the Roman god of fire. Mount Etna was treated with great respect. It belonged to a time even before the gods, and if they had a sense of forever, this enormous mountain and its many sister vents, which were now represented by vertical pillars of stone weathering out of the softer ash, carried the concept of times that were unimaginably long ago. It was on top of one of these pillars that Novo was located. The town could only be accessed by a narrow road with many turns, which could be defended by relatively few men. Its weakness lay in the fact that it could also be surrounded by large forces that could starve the population out. Although it could capture water in cisterns, little food could be grown on the craggy outcrop, which had sprouted homes, shops, and churches. Novo's height and difficult approaches provided security, while its access to the sea and the naturally enriched volcanic soils of the lower slopes of Mount Etna provided the most consistently fertile area of the island. Believed to contain the forge of Hephaestus by the Greeks, the mountain's slow-flowing basaltic lava had overwhelmed anything that it encountered. The intercession of saints and other holy figures had been often solicited to stop flows approaching towns, but had only modest successes. Flows even reached Catania and filled the moat of the Norman fortress in 1669, and that flow was only blocked by the thick stone walls of the structure. The church where they were to be married was located up a narrow street. The bus carrying the wedding guests had already discharged its passengers in front of the church door and parked in a pull-off area of the roadway 500 feet below the town. As the caravan from Syracuse approached, everyone got out of their cars and the drivers took their cars to the same area. In Angelica's case, one of Luigi's guards took her car to the parking area. Luigi came down the stone steps to meet her. He helped her balance in her high heels and wedding dress as she climbed the stairs to the portico for the church. Cecilia and the rest of the family had already been hustled inside.
I think that you will agree that Fleet Cooper did a remarkable job on that book. This is something like his 100th or thereabouts. Now, I'm going to be doing a radio show with Rick Bratton this week in America later today that you will be able to hear syndicated throughout the nation next week. The audiobook, Until Death Do You Part, will be available in approximately a month or so. At first from Listen Up Audio Productions, and then worldwide through a variety of distributors. But now, this is Hovey Smith, reminding you to hunt what you eat and eat what you hunt. Be legal, be ethical, be safe, goodbye, God bless, and see you next time. This reading was from the novel Until Death Do You Part by William Hovey Smith, and it was read by voice actor Fleet Cooper and will be available the summer of 2021 from Listen Up Audiobooks and other audiobook outlets. For more information on my books, blogs, and more than 850 YouTube videos, go to www.hoveysmith.com. For more about my business books, go to createyourownjobsecurity.com. To find out more about the Father of the Grooms novel, screenplay, and movie project, go to fatherofthegrooms.net. Hovey will next appear with his business book, Make Your Own Job, Anytime, Anywhere, at Any Age, on Rick Brackett's podcast radio show, This Week in America, to be broadcast in mid-June 2021. Good hunting and good eating from the outdoors. Goodbye, and God bless.